the guy driving the car was dressed as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and his buddy in the passenger side was Chewbacca. And I said, hey, sir, I need to see your driver's license and registration, please. He waves his hand in front of me and goes, you don't need to see my driver's license or registration. And I look at Jim, and I'm like, dog, he's using the Jedi mind trick on me. I'm like, I don't need to see his driver's license or registration.
This is 56, a Pinellas County Sheriff's Office podcast. I'm Ricky Butler with Laura Sullivan and Ashley Cooley. And I think first we have to admit that we messed up.
We did, just a little.
We messed up a little bit. So last episode was our 13th episode. And that means that we have been doing this little experiment with a podcast for a whole year.
We forgot our anniversary.
Which gets me in a lot of trouble when it happens at home. So we all want to just say a quick thank you for everybody for supporting the podcast, for listening. We've got listeners in like 45 states or something crazy like that. People all over the place, I know. It's wild. And we set out to do something that nobody else is doing in the world of law enforcement. And we even landed ourselves on an FBI watch list, which is awesome.
But in a good way.
In a good way. Yeah. In a good way. And I think we're not going to elaborate on that. Just let it go because I think it's funnier that way. So just wanted to say thanks to everybody. We've got a little surprise at the end about a new way that you can connect with us. We'll talk about. So on to today's guest. So we've had this is an individual that has been suggested many times. We've had folks that have been requested, but this is one that's like, hey, you really need to get Jana needs to be on the podcast because she is hilarious and has great stories from a storied career at the sheriff's office. So I'm just saying, just telling you what we were told. So we have Deputy Jana Demperio with us. She has been with the sheriff's office for 24 years and is currently assigned to the desk at North District Station, which I'm telling you is an exciting place. We're going to get all into it. But first, so welcome, Jana. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you.
But first, Ashley has a question. Take it away.
I do. So the question today is, what job would you never do regardless of how much you would be paid? So it's an infinite salary, but you don't care. You would never do that job.
Like maybe animal slaughtering. If I had to work at a slaughterhouse and just daily kill animals personally, I don't think I could do that for any money.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can be bought. So, I mean,
Because I said that, and then I started thinking, well, you said limitless money.
Yeah.
Cows are not an endangered species. Maybe I would.
great question.
A job I would never do.
This is thought-provoking.
Right
This is thought-provoking. I would probably, gosh.
Yeah, I can't think of a thing.
I wouldn't be like a dictator's torturer, probably.
Okay. That's random.
This is a hard one.
That is a hard one, actually. That's a really good one.
Yes.
I might be stumped. Job I would never do for any amount of money. I mean, I would do about anything for $1 billion.
Yeah.
But that's not a job. I'm just trying to think of what job just seems awful.
Just so everybody knows, Ricky requested a question that would make him think.
No, this is you got me.
So
no, it's
success right here.
You got me. What about you? Do you have an answer?
I have no desire to go back to teaching children again.
So no matter what, you wouldn't go back and teach children?
No.
What if you said limitless money? What if it was enough money to fund like your perfect educational program and feed all the starving children?
I don't think I could handle because if you're talking 40 hours a week, which is essentially teaching, I don't want to be miserable for 40 hours a week. I definitely agree with
we'd both be rich,
anything like with slaughtering animals. No, thank you. And I also think what our like digital forensics people go through and children crimes against children. Yeah. I don't think I could handle any of that.
Yeah, you know what?
I
was trying to think of something with just that constant, and that would be good. So I would say anything that involves dealing with kids that are hurt or killed or worse or whatever. I don't know what's worse than killed, but
I would say there's things.
Yeah, there are things worse than death.
I wouldn't want to deal with stuff where you see kids in bad shape. So I'd probably pass on that.
That's probably why I don't want to teach either.
Yeah.
That's what I ended up seeing. Not to that degree, but
no, that was good. Thought-provoking. I asked for it and I got it. So you're going to be bought completely. There's nothing, or you would just agree with that answer?
I'm going to agree with that one.
Animals and children.
Well, not for nothing, but cows.
Money's money.
You're going to eat them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if we weren't supposed to, God would have made them, I don't know, faster, I guess.
Less delicious.
Who You never heard anybody go, I'm going to go out for a cheetah burger. Do you want to go? No.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. That's a good point.
Can't catch him. So.
All right. Thank you, Ashley, for following my orders and getting me in trouble.
Thought-provoking question.
Yeah.
So John,
60
I am
minutes.
provoked.
60 minutes.
All right. So, Jana Demperio,
Yes, sir.
you have a fascinating background that I'm looking forward to talking about because you've done a lot of things other than be a deputy sheriff. So, tell us who you are, where you came from.
Oh, my God.
It's like the superhero origin story.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Syracuse, New York. That's where my family hails from. Yep. Well, good night. If we were sitting at somebody's coffee table, this would be so much easier.
This is a coffee
We
table.
are basically. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm one of 5 kids. I have a twin sister, an older sister that lives down here. My twin is in Montreal.
Okay.
My parents moved down to Florida before their deaths. So I had moved down here in 96. I think during the weekend of your riots, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
Same Pete riots.
convenient.
Right
Yeah.
after Stank's
That's fine.
podcast last
It
year.
was. I didn't unpack the truck, to be honest with you.
So was it to Pinellas County then?
Yeah.
And why Pinellas County?
My parents had moved down, and I came just to visit. They lived in Sarasota, and it rained for like the first 3 or 4 days of my vacation. And I'm like, I have to chase a little bit of sunshine. So I got in the car and followed it, basically, which brought me over the Skyway. And then into Pasagrow. And it was, I just love, that's where I eventually moved, was Pasagrow Beach. But it was just that laid back feeling, and everybody was just so welcoming. I remember my car actually broke down outside of this Seahorse restaurant. And one of the girls that worked there came out and said, can we jump your car? Yes, please. And she did. And she goes, just keep the jumper cables and bring them back when you can. I'm like, what?
Wow.
I mean, that was,
Yeah.
So it was just a different pace of life, which I fell in love with. So I went back home, sold everything, and
Came
moved
down.
down. Yep.
And so how old were you at that point when you moved down here?
30, about 30.
All right, so let's back up for
Yeah, I think we're missing a lot if we're starting at 30.
We're glazing over
Yeah.
some stuff
Oh,
here.
yeah, sorry.
So good student. Did you get in trouble when you were a kid?
Did you get caught when you were a kid? Maybe that's a better question.
Did I get caught?
Yeah.
I didn't. I was smarter than that. My twin was always the confessor. So if I did something,
she couldn't know. If she knew, she would
no,
confess.
she couldn't. And, my father, who I thought was an idiot most of my life, turned out to be the smartest man I ever met. But when you're kids, you think you can outdo him.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember as kids coming home, and my father was drinking, I think it was like Schlitz beer. I don't even know if they make it anymore. And it was in the bottom of the fridge, and I grabbed, 2 or 3 and took them down into the room. And my father came down, and he's like, where is it? Where's the beer? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And my sister just went right over and grabbed him. So, I tried to stay out of trouble, but Jamie threw me under the bus all the time.
Damn it.
So, yeah, I was not as smart as I thought I was.
So what do you do after high school?
I went to college. I went to Niagara University.
Okay.
My twin went with me. And after about 2 years of that, I realized that it's just not for me.
College not for you.
No, I mean, I enjoyed my time there. The friends that I've made there, I'm still in contact with. It was a great time, but I didn't have a direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Most of my family, I had no desire to be in law enforcement.
Because your family was law enforcement, right? You came from a law enforcement family?
My grandfather was law enforcement in Salve in like 1926 is when he joined, or 28. My uncle was chief of police of Gaddis, so I came from a long line. But I did everything I could to avoid it. I didn't think it was my calling. And then I joined the service, joined the military after college. I did 2 years and joined.
So where'd you go? Which branch?
I went Army, MP, military police.
Oh, yeah. Trying to avoid law enforcement.
Yeah.
Army, being MP.
Well, it was, I couldn't, I couldn't think of anything.
Right.
And the recruiter asked me, and that was the first thing I thought of. I was so nervous. It was either sign the papers or go back home to mom. So, signing the papers was it. And
The military's better than your mom?
I'm sorry, what?
The military's better than your mom?
Yes. Yeah.
Yikes.
Why is that?
Well, my mom actually prepared me for it because I remember when I joined and got to basic training, they're yelling at you and they're cursing at you, and I'm giggling, going, "That's it? Can anybody hit me here? Can anybody strike me at all? I mean, no. We could I got this.
What I
I'm
feel
going
like
to
I'm
do
at home.
so well in the military. This is just so easy. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm 6. I have today an unnatural fear of wooden spoons. So,
You came from a big, like chaotic Italian family, right?
Yeah, it's half my family's in law enforcement and half my family, I'm sure, does other things, Mike the embezzler, Uncle Les the arson. I'm sorry, family, if you guys didn't know that, but this man was not so unlucky that 3 of his homes burn up in the 40s, I mean, come on, people, let's just wake up.
Not just bad luck.
No,
Huh?
it wasn't bad luck. So I could have gone either way.
Yeah.
Well,
And which way did you go?
law enforcement. I went the good way, largely
Okay.
in part because of that wooden spoon thing I told you earlier about. Yeah.
So you did military for how long?
I was in for 4 years.
Okay.
All of it was in Germany.
Okay.
I had a real
Cool.
great tour of duty. It's almost laughable. I was in Garmisch. I don't know if you know. It's southern Bavaria. It's a resort area.
Oh.
So I skied and I played golf. And that's why like, when Veterans Day comes around, my wife is like, Happy Veterans Day, for all your service, sarcastically.
Oh.
That
So
vacation you
those
took in
slopes
Germany.
safe. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I know. It was
Listen,
it was awful.
some people are lucky. They get to, it works out.
It was good. Then and then I did 2 years in Munich, and it was just a beautiful area. And my sister actually, she was speaking German fluently, probably at that age, and she was actually over in Germany when I was there, so she would come to visit. So it kind of felt like
There it is.
there it
Yeah,
is.
but
There's a gnat.
there's
in
a
here.
gnat.
There's a gnat in the
So-
studio.
And so it felt a little bit more like home because it was really an eye opener for me. I didn't think I was sheltered, but times were different back then than they are now. And I'm very grateful for the way I grew up.
So then what? You get out of the military.
So I got out of the military and I went back home and again, no direction. I worked at a banquet and conference center. I learned how to bartend and, weddings. And then I was
Can you do that thing? Can you, we flip the drink bottles around?
I
and
could.
The fancy?
I
Really?
could do that. Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of cleaning up after that. 'Cause it wasn't cocktail, for God's sake.
Right.
I didn't know how to bartend. My friend said it was a skill I wanted to learn. And a friend of mine whose family owned the place said, well, why don't you just come down and I'll teach you. So she puts me behind this little thing, and she taught, that's gin, that's vodka, that's this, that's that. Then she taught me how to make a martini and a, Manhattan and all that. And she, you got it? Yeah, I got it. And then she walks out, and then 150 people come in. and next thing I know, I'm bartending in a wedding.
Oh.
And I made it, and I'm like, this is a great job because people, they're like, I want a gin and tonic. Great, what's in that? And it's just, so I did that. Oh. And I used to build sets for shows, for like food shows. I managed a hair salon.
Did you cut the hair? You didn't cut the hair?
No. No. Have you seen my hair? No. I said, no. I have 3 styles. No, we're not going there. Yeah, I have 3 styles of haircut. I go to a barber, and I love my barber. I have 3 styles, I've got, hey, I joined a softball team. Hey, I joined a golf league. Or 3, I'm going to Canada to visit my sister. And I laughed. I said that today. But I did a hair salon. I can't.
You've done it. What haven't you done?
Yeah, you worked for an archaeological firm somehow?
I did.
What was
forgot
that about?
So I worked for it was a company called Janus Research. And they did cultural resource surveys. So before DOT could build a road and so on and so forth, you have to do a dig, an archaeological dig.
Okay.
to see if there's bone or if it had been a burial ground or so on and so forth. So and then their works were published. And
So see, you were wondering what you had in common with our other guests, and so now two of our guests have spent some time
I've got a lot in
digging up
common.
old bones.
I got a lot in common. You had a doctor, and I was a little nervous coming here.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I've seen your panelists, is what we used to call them in the 70s. You know?
Panelists.
You had your panelists, so you had a doctor, you had a Killian, sergeant, and and I'm like, well, who do I have in common? Well, I've been to the doctor, and and I used to own a dog and have been bit by one, like your other guest.
Yeah, Brian Diebold. Yeah,
Brian Diebold.
you worked at a radio station, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, God, boy, did I
hear
spilled my
that.
guts
Oh,
to
you
you,
did.
didn't I?
You did.
You
Yeah.
got to be careful what you share.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I worked for WSN Radio,
Where was that at?
Baldwinsville, New York.
Okay.
Yep, and I was Jammin' Jan in the oldies van.
Jammin' Jan.
Yeah,
and the
I
old
had
band.
like 14 followers back then.
So how long did you do that for?
Yeah.
How did you get into that? That's
so
fascinating.
It was just weird. It was in between then my college, and Army kind of days, and family life was family life. My sister Karen was living in Syracuse, and I went to stay with her, and I joined a softball team. I know that's so cliche.
Yeah. It was the haircut.
It was. It was such the haircut.
You kinda had to.
They're like, I love your cut. Do you want to play softball?
Yeah.
And I can't. It's Tuesday on my golf league. So, so one of the girls on the team was the production manager there, and said, "Hey, we're looking for somebody that outgoing and so on. And would you be interested?" So that's how that thing got started.
So
What oldies are we talking about? How old are the
50s,
oldies?
60s.
Okay.
Where they used to be country, and then they switched to
oldies.
Yeah.
oldies.
So why don't you dust something off for us? Like,
Oh,
when
yeah. We
you come
gotta
back
hear
from a
it.
commercial.
Yeah,
like,
your voice.
I want to hear
no.
Jan
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
van.
yeah.
Come
No,
on.
I can't.
You have the
Please
headphones, you have the
come
mic,
on.
you're all
Please
set
don't
up.
make me.
You're literally in front of a microphone. You got a headset on.
I'm not. It's different though. This was how many gajillion years ago.
That's why
I'm barely having a hard time here now. I got news for you. I've been ready to run. I want you to know, for the people that are just listening, they're talking about mood lighting here, and I got this
Interrogation spotlight.
interrogation at
mood
Spotlight.
lighting,
I'm
same
going to get
thing.
waterboarded here in a minute.
Well, we have ways of making
I'm
it talk.
sure. Yeah, I don't have the problem.
Give us something. Come on.
No, please don't.
Come on,
That's
Jammin'
embarrassing.
Jan.
Jammin' Jan in the oldies fan.
There it is.
Okay.
There we go.
There
Yeah.
it is.
That's it,
How long
that's
did you do
it.
that for?
Yeah.
Just like a year or less?
Yeah, it was about a year.
Yeah.
Yep. And then that's when I went back, decided I'm joining the service, and that's what happened.
What was
So
your
that
time slot like for the radio?
I was in the mornings with
Okay.
Ron B.
Like 2 a.m.
No,
morning
no.
or
Just in the like
when
7,
people are,
like
okay, so
6.
people are on
when
their way to
people
work.
would actually be listening.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But I
It
was
was a good
their
slot.
I was their like their go-to man on the spot kind of roaming, if there was an event, then they'd send me over to the event.
Oh,
So
that's. I mean, you're out and about then.
Yeah, we'd have the oldies dance parties, and I would be
Nice.
there.
Right.
So,
Wish we could like spin up some. Just have her do a segment for us here.
that's not going to happen. What was that about the money thing? The question, the earlier
yeah.
question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't do that
Won't do
again.
that.
Okay, see, we found it.
There you go.
I
There's
guess,
your answer.
I guess
Time.
crimes against children
Yeah.
is not out of the wheelhouse now.
So,
Or torturer. Like
Torturer.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So now I think we can come back where we made it to Florida, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moved
did
to
make it
Pass
to
the Grill.
We did.
We did, yeah. So you come down here, Pass the Grill, best
After
place
your
ever.
car told you to go there.
God.
You followed the
I
sunshine.
did. I followed the sunset. So, Paso Girl was a great time. I lived on 8th Avenue, a lot of art galleries and so on. And I think our apartment at that time was $400 a month. And living on the beach. And all of us we were all waiting tables at that time. And we'd go to the Seahorse, go to the Wharf, which was another, shout out to the Wharf. And then we'd end up at Shadrack's, which is the biker bar across the street, which was across the street from another bar that we used to frequent. And yeah, I mean, we never left the grill. I mean, it was, if somebody was going to Publix, we'd call that going downtown. And that was just Dolphin Village.
Right.
But that's when, St. Pete was different then. They rolled up the sidewalks at like 5. And, there was nothing to do.
Right.
And now everything is just
Totally different.
everything has changed.
Yeah.
And then I decided after a few years of doing that I'm 33, I think now, that I needed a career in law enforcement.
So why PCSO? How'd that come to be?
Actually, a friend of mine who was in the child protection unit, after I had put myself through the academy, PCSO was not sponsoring. There were only a few agencies that were. So I worked during, the evenings, and I put myself through the academy during the day. And when I graduated, I actually had my application into the sheriff's office. And that was in 99, thereabouts. Or 98, end of 98, 99. And then my niece came down with a very rare form of cancer. I think she was 1 in 50 or something, 1 in 30 worldwide with it.
Wow.
And then everybody's life stopped, including mine. And I withdrew my application. My niece, with 10 months from the time she was diagnosed, had passed. And then I moved back up to New York to help my family, my sister, especially. And I spent, and it was just right at 2000, I think. It was the, Y2K was coming, and, everything was going to...
Who knows? Whatever.
And then after that, I realized that, I can't help people put their lives together, by myself. It was just
Got to do something for yourself.
I have to do something, and I was encouraged, and they knew how happy I was, and so I came back down here, and I put my application in again, and I remember it was BJ Lyons who saw me walking in the building, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "Good," and the fact that he remembered me was, fantastic, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to get hired on with the sheriff's office." He's like, "I thought you worked for us." I'm like, "No, I don't." And he goes, "Yeah, we'll do something." And he set up appointments, made some calls, and just got me through. And I think I told him why I had taken my application out. And I was hired, I think a month later. So September of 2000, I came on.
And because you'd put yourself through the academy a few years prior then.
Yes.
So you were certified.
Yes.
Okay. So you just kind of maintain that until you were able to, okay. So then how was that transition kind of getting back? Was it like, all right, we gotta get on it?
I was so excited. It was so different. I knew PCSO was the only department. I mean, I just like the way the way they look, the way they carry themselves. We had St. Pete.
Yeah.
Was a different local agency, and that's what I was used to. It was just I had known a couple of people that, like I said, were in CPI.
Yeah.
And they just spoke highly, and I knew I needed a home.
It's just one of those things that happened.
Yeah.
Just
worked out.
right
It felt
place.
right.
It
You
just worked
pursued
out.
it.
That was it.
So you made it through FTO, no problems. And
I loved FTO.
Where do you end up getting assigned?
So my first shift was evenings in when we had 3 shifts. You remember we had evenings in North County, and I had never been. I mean, outside of FTO, I had never left the grill. I had never been really north of Almerton Road.
There's more up there.
There was,
Yeah.
What was it like back in the old days? Because that's when I was there. I came on in 2004. So I think we overlapped in a lot of that primitive technology.
It has changed so much. Oh, yeah. We had a Commodore 64, I think. We had the old MDTs. We had a pencil and paper and a road map. We didn't
we
have...
had the grid maps, those laminated thick grid maps.
Yep.
Yeah.
And still, like, Squad 8 was being built. So if you didn't know the street or whatever, these kids have it... Sorry, kids. These guys have
Whippersnappers.
They have it so easy. We didn't... This was before cell phones, before anything. If we had to... We couldn't type in our reports. You had to find a phone at a park.
Yep.
Wipe away the cobwebs and the spiders. Remember the arms phones?
Oh, yeah.
And you'd have to sit and wait, and then your MDT would go off and you'd have to go. And they didn't give you what they give you today. I mean, when I start out, they're like, there's a domestic at 123 Apple Street. And that's all the information you got, really. It's like, let us know when you get there what's going on. You know, now it's, you know, it's this. And we have a reckless driver in a 1963 Volkswagen camper van. You know, it's got a purple flower on it with a yellow surfboard, you know, and some kid's like, you know, what's the tag? Really? How many of those went by you? I mean, how much more information do you need? Just go.
Right.
Just go to the car.
Just go.
You know, but I laugh. But yeah, and then there were, you know, the MDTs, the
What
old
is
ones.
that?
So it was this
What does it stand for? I can't remember. Is it mobile data
something.
Tran?
Data
Right.
terminal.
Data terminal.
Yeah.
So
It was like an Etch-a-Sketch with a keyboard, wasn't it?
Pretty
yeah,
much.
pretty
Yeah.
much. It was, when I tell you, it was, the only thing was missing was like the floppy disk thing. They just shoved your
Yeah.
thing in. It was
tiny
it was,
screen
It
and
gave
the-
you the little grid, and it gave you the address of the call and maybe your contact information. But you know, to run somebody, like if your
Oh
name
my
was
God,
like
yes.
John Smith,
Yeah.
like you got away that day because the
No.
anybody named
for
Smith,
hours.
Brown, you know,
Yeah.
Just search it.
Just slow it down. You know, is all you, because it would just circle and circle through.
So you
All
could
right,
just-
you're getting a
pages.
warning today.
So you,
Yeah.
so
It's
you
your lucky
couldn't put
day.
in like anything else. Like you couldn't put in like a date of birth to go with it to
No.
help. No.
No,
It was just
I
name.
can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
so. And then
I
you
don't
put
think
the, if they had a DL, you put that in, but it would run forever. And then it would run again forever. So if your last name was, you know, I can't even think of anything else.
Smith,
Led
Jones.
Zeppelin.
Yeah.
You know, chances are you were getting a ticket that day because
Right.
there's only probably two of you out there.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
but, you know, John Doe, see ya.
Yeah.
Try,
Yeah.
keep it down, buddy.
Yeah,
Keep it down.
slow down.
Slow down a little bit.
So any memorable calls in your early days where you were like, was there any moment where you were like, I should have done something else?
Yes.
Should have stayed in radio.
Yeah. So, so in FTO, you know, I remember when I forgot who my FTO was. He's like, okay, yeah, we got a dead body call. And I'm like, what? Why? Was he killed? Was he murdered? Are we going to a murder? And he's like, no, he just died. And I'm like, why? I don't understand. Why are we going?
Right.
Yeah.
And he goes, it's an unattended death. And I'm like, yeah, again, I pose you the question, why do we have to be there? Can't they just call a court? And then I realized that, oh my God, we go to these calls.
Yep.
And not only that, you know, you have to roll them and what? I'm like, no. And I thought, yeah, I'm not ready. I didn't, there was so much more than I realized. You know, in the Army, it was, even though you were an MP, it was just drunks and that was it, you know. This is a completely different, that was a shock to me. That's all I can say.
Out of all the other stuff, unattended death, that's what got you thinking.
Well, I don't,
It's shocking if you haven't handled dead people and then suddenly you have to go hands-on with someone who's dead and roll
yeah, I
them
mean,
around to check
everything
for
else.
wounds. It's,
yeah,
it's difficult.
There really wasn't anything. I mean, I think one of the advantages I had was my age coming into it. I
Life
had
experience.
life experience, which I think you need to be successful in a lot of this job. So domestics and people fighting, unfortunately, I knew that in and out because of my family and so on. But I also knew and realized that people fight, but they stay together, you know.
Yeah.
And how do you, if you're called to that situation, remember that this couple is going to move forward, you know, so how do I help them get past this moment, you know? So I think I came into it differently than some of the things I see now. And now that I'm at the end of things, the end of my career, yeah, I think communication and talking, and that's
Just know how to talk to people.
it's
Yeah.
key. If you don't know how to do that, I think you're already in a negative spot.
Yeah.
You had a couple situations where you talked yourself out of.
Yeah, there's been a couple. I remember probably my first year or two into it, I ran a tag and the guy had a warrant out, And it was like watching a cartoon, It was like pulling over a Volkswagen Bug and having this enormous, like Dave Stang coming out of it. And I'm by myself. I had no clue really where I was. And he just looked at me and I looked at him and I'm like, how am I going to handle this situation? Traffic. And I just calmed myself down. I just looked at the gentleman. I said, look, buddy, I don't know how to tell you this, but look, there's a warrant out for your arrest, and you're going to jail. I said, and we can do this a couple of different ways. I'm good either way. I said, so I can either A, throw you my handcuffs, and you can handcuff yourself, and you can have a seat. B, you can get back in your car, and me and 17 of my friends will follow you, and we'll come get you later. Either one of those is good. But please know, if you come at me in any way that I feel, like you're going to this is not going to be a good day for any of us. And he's like, kid, I'm not going to say it, but I'm pretty sure he said, kid, you got moxie or something like that. And I remember taking out my handcuffs and I threw it to him, and son of a gun, if he didn't pick them up and
put him on himself.
Yeah, put him on himself. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
And that's when I realized, I'm like, yeah, okay, I got this. I can talk. And I think just that's the key, right? Is people just want to be treated with, respect and dignity and one or the other, because you never know who you're going to help.
Right.
Yeah, these people.
You have nothing to do with their warrant. Why? You got a job to do.
Right.
They're part of it, and they can do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can't, one of the guys I arrested, he had a warrant. He was one of the outlaws. And
Like the motorcycle.
The motorcycle gang. And I'm not going to say what his name was, but I remember it. And I had to take him into custody. And it was in front of another one of his buddy outlaw friends. And he was cooperative. He was a gentleman to me. And he still had his outlaw jacket on, I remember. And I said, look, you can't, I appreciate you being cooperative. I can't take you to the jail wearing your colors, but I knew enough that he couldn't give them to me, right? Because it would be surrendering, which he would look horrible in front of his buddy. So I let his buddy come and take them from him and so on and so forth.
So he could save face.
So he could save face. And driving down the jail, he's like, you know what? He goes, I'm just saying, if you weren't a cop, I would ask you to go out for a beer. And I said, wow. I said, and if you weren't a piece of whatever, I would 100% go with you, man. Right? So we do it. He goes, this is the nicest ride down to the jail ever. And I'm like, oh, thank you.
5 stars.
5 stars. And I remember it was probably a year or two later. I went to, it was a drunken disorderly. And this guy was just he was just yelling, screaming. It was just me. And we were across the street in a parking lot. And he's yelling, and I'm like, it's coming down to, I'm going to have to go hands-on with this guy. This was before the, tasers and all that. You had your little asp, or whatever they used to call them, and pepper spray, which you never used.
Right.
Because I would just spray it in my eyes, and I'd be out to fight, which I had done several times.
Oh, no.
I handcuffed myself once.
Oh, no.
I thought I got the guy, and I handcuffed myself to a chair or something. It was absolutely ridiculous. Please, OC, I'm out. I'm out to fight. And I remember going, and this is what's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, and this bike pulls up, and this guy comes out, and it's my buddy, the outlaw.
No.
Yes. And he goes, Deputy, you good? You having a problem? I said, oh, no, hang on a second. I looked at the guy that I was getting ready to go tempt. I'm like, do we have a problem? Do we have a problem now? He's like, nope, no problem. I look back at him and I'm like, no, we're good. He goes, you want me to
kind of like stepped out of the way. You're like, you see my friend?
He goes, you want me to stick around? I'm like, yeah. If you could. So this is what I'm saying is you never know. You don't know the effect. You don't know who you've helped and who might be helping you. You know. So.
That's cool. That's great. I mean,
that was a good one.
Yeah.
I remember I was very happy to see. Who's happy to see one of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was this
that
girl.
Day, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, maybe we'll get that beer.
Yeah.
All right. So what other, did you spend, how much time did you spend in patrol? Did you have some specialty assignments? What did you get into?
So, yeah, I knew after about 5 years, I think that's when everything clicks, right? 5 years into it. And like I said, it was different back then. You had to listen to the radio, and you had to remember, you didn't have the luxury of looking at a screen, seeing where all your buddies were, right? You had to remember what calls they were on, what their voices sound like if they were in trouble. Those nuances that,
just don't have today.
Right? And I remember driving by a building and looking at it was like a reflective mirror. And I was sitting in my Crown Vic, and I remember looking, going, yeah, I got this. It's just a moment. It was just like an epiphany. And I'm like, okay, now maybe it's time to do something else. So from there I went to community policing in Baskins.
How did
How did that go?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's about the same voice I use. If it's any consolation.
You need
I said
some
the
water,
same
Laura?
thing.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think I'm going to take a sip with you, actually.
Everybody take a shot.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard Baskins was tough, that area.
It was an eye opener. Nobody wanted to cooperate with me at all. I know, shockingly enough. I thought maybe being a lesbian, I'd have the edge. That did not work.
It was not the superpower.
It was
you
not my
for.
superpower.
Yeah.
So that was different. There's such a, and I don't know how it is now because I've worked North County, so I can't really speak to that area, or really South County anymore. But at the time, 2006, 2007, there was that distrust, and so that was a difficult assignment.
Did it ever get any better?
Nope, not for me.
Like, what would they do with it? What would they say?
Well, no, nobody saw anything ever. Yeah, if you were trying to investigate, there was just no. I mean, for me personally, and I thought I was so well versed into making people feel comfortable, and I could just to a point. Right. And then there was that divide, and I felt it. And I think I did not feel as successful or ready at that point. Yeah. That was a tough pill to swallow because I thought, well, I'm going to go in.
Now you go from I got this to
exactly right.
This is
I need to go back into the toolbox here.
Right. And people were afraid, and to be afraid of your, in your community. I don't know what that feels like. So that was a real.
So that was a general law enforcement thing. That wasn't really about you.
I don't know. I felt like I had failed in some way. That how do you gain trust? And I'm not saying it didn't happen. There were those moments of trust, but you really have to work at it. You have to be, I think that's why law enforcement has changed because you had to hit the pavement. That's probably why my grandfather and my uncle and everybody was so successful back then or tried. Because they knew their shop owners, they knew this, and they knew, and they literally were foot cops, banging on doors and
walking their beat all the time,
walking their beat, and now we just drive by, and it's only those very rare specialty units, that you can get out.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, society is different with, tip of the iceberg there, but as far as having those, even when you're depending on where you are in part of the country, You're not walking down Main Street, popping in, and all those things. I mean, it's just different all around.
Everybody's, fearful. I wish I could put my finger on it. You can sit and read that, crime stats are low and this and that, or they've changed or that. But you can't. How do you measure fear of a? But when you're all in, it's. Facebook and the internet and all that.
Right.
And, oh my God. I think that was the worst joke ever perpetrated on the human people was the internet. Back in high school, if you weren't liked, the only post you get would be like in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And even then it was for a good time, hey, for a good time, call this number. And that was it.
Right.
Yeah.
And if a group of kids didn't like you, there were 5 of them. Now it's thousands. Or
you post
this,
a video and they don't like you.
Right. And how do you that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And now that we've created this monster.
Yeah.
Now everybody's trying to put it back in the box. You know,
Too late for that.
It's too late for that.
Absolutely.
So I'm sorry. I know we got off.
No, this is.
We like to do that.
No, you do?
Yeah,
for
Good.
sure.
You'll be doing it all day, folks.
Yeah, no, it's an important, because part of that, I mean, what you talk about is really that's our dilemma in law enforcement, because we want to do all those things. We have to go to where people are.
Right.
And that's why I think this podcast is super important, because we're kind of showing the other side, the variety of our members, a cross section of who these folks are that are working in our community, what they're doing.
Right.
But at the same time, some of those realities of it's just not the way it used to be, and we have to try to reassess the best way to go at this at boots on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, when it comes to fear and all of that, what ends up being publicized often, especially when you're talking about law enforcement, is the negative stuff, the injustice, the bad. So it ends up painting this picture for the entire career, the
Right.
entire profession, and
Right.
that's what you're working against. And that's seemingly impossible.
It's a tough, when I first started, and everybody, when I first started, people like Picardi and everybody, you live in a fishbowl. Everything you do, everything will be judged and everything. And knock on wood, I've had a very nice career that I can be proud of, but then something happens in some other state by some other
Right.
law agency or some other law, and then it doesn't matter, It
Erases all of it.
And that's a really hard pill to swallow, especially doing this and being that, how do you tell people, I am not that person.
Right.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, I know that there's lessons that to be learned, I've, especially now with my assignment, I hear the same thing all the time. And a lot of the stuff is not police issues.
Right.
The fact that you can't get your 5-year-old up to go to school, I can't help you in that. I'm not going to come to your door and make him go. And I can guide you and I can help you.
Yeah.
But I hear the same thing, and sometimes I find myself frustrated. And I have to remember, which I try to tell the new deputies too, is you might have heard the same thing 100 times, but this might be the first time that they're calling the police, right?
100%.
So it's important to them. That's why they picked up the phone to call. And I have to remind myself of that, even 20 plus years later, So it's tough. But
people just don't really get that piece of it, obviously, which is what you're saying. But I mean, even
Right.
from our perspective as law enforcement communicators, and Ashley and I have presented on social media and various things, and just through different talks, it's like when we're working with people that work in the private sector, in marketing or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, you guys got cool stuff in it. It's like, yes, and it's a dream job for a PR person, because you get all the positive stuff. But if a barista screws up your latte
Yeah.
on the other coast,
right.
a couple months later, you're not going to get berated at the same place by a
Right.
different, because it's just, there's no other profession like it where
Right.
we're judged, law enforcement is judged.
And
Yeah.
it's always and that's what even, my wife will say, look at this horrible story, and this police officer did this, and she had a distrust for when I went through the academy in 96, my current partner and I were together in 96, and she supported me. And then when it came time to my doing this, she knew herself enough, I don't know if this is going to change you as a person. I'm not the kind of person that's going to sit and wait to see if you come home.
Yeah.
And it will eat into everything that we have at this point. And it was just not our time. So here we are now in 2017 is when we reconnected and have not been unhappy a day, because now she knows that my moral compass is my moral compass.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see, had we stayed that way, how far if my career would have progressed even more, because she's so supportive and so that, and I think you really need that to be successcul in this job. You need that.
Definitely a strong
You need
support.
that safe place.
100%.
How did you guys get back together after all that time?
I said to my friend, I am going to go and get my soulmate back.
Oh.
And that's exactly what I did. I
Had you kept up with her at that point? Did you know if she was
kind of
married or?
Nope, wouldn't have mattered.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it would not have mattered
But
to
it's
me.
your person.
Hey, if you're soulmates.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was my penguin, and
Yeah.
I knew 100%. And I said that to my friend Sherry. I said I'm going to go, and I called, made that phone call, and I said, looking to go get a cheeseburger. Can you recommend any place? She's like Engine 9 in St. Pete, best burger ever. Would you like to go? Yep. Am I picking you up? We meeting there. You can pick me up. Great, it's a date. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. If I'm paying for it and I'm picking you up, it's a date. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And from that cheeseburger on, we have not spent any moment apart. It was just meant. It is meant to
That's
happen.
so sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a great.
it
I love
is.
her story. I
Yeah,
do.
that's
a great
awesome.
story.
You don't have to play it on the podcast. But
No, no.
I know.
No, it's
We're
great.
good
going
stuff.
to if we can.
That's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Heck
So,
No, it's not.
no, it's
yeah.
not.
True love is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Come on.
Knowing what you want, going to get it.
I did.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered. Wouldn't have mattered.
So, see,
I know we're going to talk about law enforcement here at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
that's
So you were in Baskins all the time. You were in CPO, and then
Yeah.
you just kind of
Yep.
say, "That's enough. I'm
And
out."
that was enough. And then actually, I was fortunate enough that unit, that's when we had the STAR teams. They introduced
yeah.
to, remember the STAR,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yep.
What was that? Was that like street crimes?
tactical?
I forget what it is.
something, whatever.
Yeah.
I've heard about it briefly.
They were all black and
Can
looked
we
really
get
cool.
any more with the acronyms? I swear to God, ADHD, LMNOP. I have no
Yeah.
idea what
But it was
anybody
basically-
has anymore.
It was
So,
basically street crimes.
It was street
stuff?
crimes.
Yeah. Okay.
That was fun. I work with a great group of guys. Dan Zito and Lou Gomes. He's not with it. Nelson DeLeon. If you're still here, I'll never forget what you did. But
Did we get to hear that story?
oh my God, Nelson, he was so funny. I'd love to have him on because he was bilingual. And we were down in Largo or Clearwater, somewhere off of Clearwater Largo Road, and I kept asking him, I'm like, Nelson, where are you, man? Nelson, I'm on La Hacienda Street. Are you on La Hacienda Street? Yes. Isn't that Spanish? Is that not your primary language?
No.
Yeah. I'm like,
I thought you were saying you.
That was him. I'm like, Nelson, where are you, man? I'm on La Hacienda. Do you no clue where you are? I'm like, come on, I even knew that one. God, take that Spanish class at the sheriff's office. Yeah. P.S. I love. I haven't taken it yet, so I can't comment. But I love it when with the Spanish. If I need to know that the guy is wearing a yellow shirt, I'll call you. Because I'm like, can I get a Spanish-speaking deputy? And they're like, yeah, his shirt's yellow. Yes, thank you. Can you ask him what actually happened at his house? I don't need to know where the library is. Thank you. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. So how are you guys at all that tactical stuff in the STAR unit?
How were we?
Yes.
It was, we thought we were super sneaky and stuff. One day, Lou Gomes and I were in a UC car. We were doing some undercover work. We thought we were cool as heck.
Yeah.
And Nelson was hiding in a marked unit over, and Nelson comes over the radio and he's like, "Hey, I got the car. I see it." And I'm like, "Okay, where is it?" "Well, it's in that parking lot by you." "Okay, great." So Lou and I start moving up with the car. He goes, "The car's moving." And then we stopped. And it's like, "Okay, he stopped." And I'm like, "Okay." So he's like, and then we start moving again. He goes, "He's moving again." So then we stopped again. And then I'm like, "Lou, turn on the lights." So Lou turns on the lights. He's like, he turned the lights on. I'm like, "Nelson." That was us. So obviously we sucked at it. Obviously we were the worst undercover people out there. Always. I guess a couple of us went to jail. I don't know. We were terrible. No, we had a lot of fun. It was a lot of, you get to do stuff. You get to do your picking up warrants, and that was exciting, and that had its time. And then I moved on. So
Then what?
school resource officer.
All right.
Yeah.
That was the hardest job I've ever had.
I bet.
It really was.
What school were you at?
So I started out at Oak Park School. So I don't even think it's around anymore.
Yeah, I don't recognize
So
that.
it was a private school, half private, half funded. But it was for the kids, the kids that were like one step away from telephone school. Right, they had to wear uniforms. They were segregated, women in classrooms and boys in the other. They
So
had to be wanded. They had to be searched. They had to go
Okay.
through
So
metal
behavior
detectors.
stuff.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
That was very trying because that I think probably the most rewarding time because a couple of those kids, I didn't think were going to make it. I thought, well, they're going to be in jail or they're this, and now they're in the Army, or now you get letters from him or that. And one kid I saw, he's one of the hospital administrators over at Dunedin.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That must be so satisfying.
It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
and it's just craziness. And now they're, my God, these kids are in their 30s now. When I had them, so that was a very exciting time. I worried a lot back then.
Let's just back up a bit because I think, especially recently with all the school safety conversations and people, I think people frequently overlook the importance of an SRO.
Yes.
You're not a security guard.
No.
All right. You're obviously there to handle law enforcement matters in the school that come up, but just talk a little bit about the role of an SRO and why it's so important.
Honestly, I didn't know. We didn't have SROs in our school. And I went to Lewiston Porter in the 70s and 80s. Our teachers took care of everything. If there was a fight in the hallway, I can guarantee you our football coach was in there. And then they'd beat the heck out of you, and then you'd go home, and guess who never acted up in school again?
Right.
You didn't. So I didn't know what the function of one was. And then when I got there, it's you are really on you are in a mentoring role. You have to. But the way this school was is I referred to my military, went back to the military, where you break them down like I was. They broke me down, and then they build you up. But I was lucky growing up because when I got home, there was a one-parent home, right, where one parent worked. And when you came to the table to eat, you ate at 5, and everybody was there, and you talked about your day. That's when you knew if somebody was having a problem because your parents knew you.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens anymore. So these kids that would come there had either one parent who was always working, or they were left to take care of siblings and so on and so forth. And they had no outlets. They had nothing to, their outlet was anger. This is how any attention at that point
was good.
was good.
Yep.
Because somebody's noticing me was the thing. And it's like,
Oh, yeah.
I remembered that, so it's taking the time to, I might not have impacted a lot of people through this career, and people might not remember me at all after I leave. But there are certain names of students that I will absolutely remember because I affected their lives. I talked to them. I was that born. I brought them together. They would communicate with me, and whether parent couldn't or didn't know how to listen to them, I brought them together in a room, and then we worked on these communication skills and so on. And I don't know really what else to say about it. I can just tell you that they play a vital role.
Big time.
And that's what upsets me when you go into a grocery store or something and you're in uniform and a kid's acting up and the parents are like, I'm gonna.
Oh, he's gonna take
He's
you to
going to
jail.
take you to jail or whatever. It's like, I want your child to run toward me, not
Correct.
away from me. You're setting us up for failure as it
Correct.
is. Or I've had people bring them into the station for me to yell at them. And I'm like, ma'am, you've totally have got this wrong. That's your job. You're not supposed to be their friends at this age. Take their phone. I had one woman call my 5-year-old took my phone and won't give it back, was the call. And I said, ma'am, with all due respect, I'm going to go ahead and repeat that to you. And then you tell me what's wrong with what you just. She's like, what? I'm like, my 5-year-old took my phone and won't give it back. She goes, I understand completely what you're saying, deputy. And I'm like, okay, good luck to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's
that was
huge.
No, that was
No, absolutely.
Well, because again, it's those nuances, and it all really ties together with the stuff we run into in the community as far as, the respect piece and all that stuff. Is that, I can't tell you how many times we're out at events with equipment or whatever, a touch truck or whatever it is, and it's like, oh, but don't act up because they'll put you in that big truck or whatever, and it's like, oh, okay, that's just,
like the peacekeeper and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a bad day at the sheriff's office when they go, Jan, get the peacekeeper.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Why do I even have to take this class? I can't even get in it, which is embarrassing as all hell.
Yeah.
But,
so and the peacekeeper was we don't have them anymore actually.
What's that big little?
The MRAP.
The
Yeah,
MRAP,
that's it.
yeah.
The MRAP.
Go get it. Yeah.
Yeah, go get it, Jan. Yeah,
Another
that's not
acronym.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So how long were you in SRO? Were you always at that school, or did you move around?
No, I moved around. I was there, and then I went to Dixie Hollins High School.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Is it
Hollins.
Hollins High
It's
School?
now Hollins,
It's
yes.
God.
But
Okay, so it's
then
been a few years.
was, yeah.
Yeah. So that was a great school because the football players really liked me, so they always had my back.
Oh,
so
that's good.
if I got somebody,
Nice.
it was like
When were you there?
I couldn't tell you the years.
Okay.
Everything just blends in. So I honestly,
Just one big soup of a career.
it really was.
Yeah.
It just kind of spiraled into that. And then I went to Tarpon Springs High School when we were still there.
Whole
I was
other
with Miguel Echeverria, was the SRO there. He was a great guy. Matter of fact, I saw him at the airport. He retired. Now he's working there. And he still checked my bag, which I thought was funny. He's like, "Hey, Jen." I'm like, "Hey, Miguel." And he's checking my. I'm like, "Why'd you open that?" I got to.
I don't know what you've been doing.
He's like, "Don't think I don't remember you." I'm like, "Really? Wow, that hurt." All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's funny.
That's good stuff.
But he let my wife go through it. Just go. Really? Okay.
She doesn't look as shady as you.
Not
do, I guess.
apparently not. It kills me. And then they closed. I think I went back to Oak Park, and then I went to bailiff after that.
Okay. Spend time at
Yeah,
the courthouse.
Yeah, I think everybody should spend a little time out there.
Why is
Oh,
that?
yeah?
Because I was lucky enough that I didn't really have to testify a lot.
You're talking about throughout your career, and
right? Throughout my
different
career
cases.
and building cases, I never had to. Was never on the witness stand that much. But I think it's fascinating to sit back and watch a trial, how they pick the jury and go from this and see where the state's going and see where the. I think there's a lot of information, and learning how to talk to people is huge. Back then, you really needed those people skills, especially if you were in the. I don't think we do it anymore, but we had to be in the cells when they brought the inmates up or the defendants up.
Yeah.
And you don't have anything on, no gun, no anything, no
Right.
taser back then. So, and they come out of the elevator and nobody's secured, and you just hope that, hey, I hope you have a good day in court, man. I just, whatever happens, it'll be okay.
Right. Right.
I'm with you. I'm in here. I'll write to you. Just drop off. I will absolutely 100%. Just don't take it out on me. But that was a lot of juggling. That was probably the most scared I've been in my career, to be honest.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Well, that and the PAT test. I'm not really fond of that.
Oh.
No. And it's not getting any easier at 56.
Oh, I was going to say, the courses might be getting a little easier because they just put AstroTurf down. Or
No,
not
that doesn't
turf, but-
help.
Okay.
No, it's like what you got, like 4 minutes or something to do it, and it's like they're like, get the flashlight out of the trunk. I don't have my glasses on. I don't know where this. That's 2 minutes off my time right there.
You need a
I'm like,
flashlight just to find the flashlight in the truck.
They're like, did you get the $100, Jan? Yeah, because the guy in front of me dropped it when going over the wall. He must have been in his sock. I have I dread that every year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not
Would you
getting-
get that for what? Like finishing really within a certain
Yeah, like
time
in
frame?
2 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Right, that's what the canines for.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what cops wanted to ride with me, and I'm like, that is so not going to happen because
that
I don't
would've
need
been
the.
great.
No, it wouldn't have been.
It'd been hilarious.
No, Kim Killings. I think it was Kim. Somebody was like, cops are riding with you. No, that's not going to happen because I don't need the cameraman outrunning me. Going, we'll get the guy. You just stand there, deputy. Thank you.
Oh, that's so funny.
So you were deputy of the year.
Yeah, I was
Weren't
the
you?
Dunedin. Yes, I did. I got Dunedin Deputy of the Year.
What'd you do to deserve that?
Yeah. How'd that happen?
Well,
Someone made a mistake somewhere, right?
somebody obviously made it. So the elusive thing for me, the ribbon was always the safe driving award. I was never going to get that pin unless somebody dropped it on the ground and I found it.
Right.
Right. So that particular week, I think I was in 2 preventable accidents.
In 1 week.
Yeah.
2 in 1 week.
I think so.
That were your fault?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, unless the tree just hopped out, unrooted
Trees
itself.
do that. You can't trust a tree.
He wasn't at the crosswalk.
They're unpredictable.
Poor Linda Koonsman, God love her, Sarge, man. So yeah, I was watching what I thought was a stolen vehicle.
All right, but so we're talking about one of the. I want to hear about these 2 crashes.
This
first.
is what I'm telling you.
Okay.
So I was sneaking through. I was doing my lights off, sneaking through Walgreens parking lot. Thought I had a stolen vehicle. Well, the guy goes, well, no, I hit the lights and I go, and I was too close to the tree, and I ripped the whole side. I just went down. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a memo. So, that car was being. That car, Linda opened up the door and pieces of the tree fell out. And I'm like, oh my God, there goes my I was so close this time. My day off, my 8 hours. So, that car was in the shop. I got another one. And me and Jen Love.
Now Jen Love. Major Love.
Major Love. That's right. I'm sorry. Jay Ollie. We used to call her Jolly. We don't anymore. So.
But henceforth we will.
Henceforth you will. We were the J Squad. But anyway, myself and the now Major Love were on our way to overdose subject. And as we were coming around the corner, the curb, where the drainage curb, it was up, and I hit it. And it dinged the other side of my car. Oh. So that was 2. So I still had that car. I was supposed to get into the shop the following day. But as luck would have it, this woman who was... So she was intoxicated. There was a bolo out. She was driving south in the northbound lanes of traffic down Bayshore.
Oh.
In Dunedin?
Yes, in Dunedin. And I was coming north, and I had traffic behind me. She had already hit 2 cars, I think. So I tightened up my seatbelt, and I said, well, this is it. And she didn't stop, so I front end pitted her, I guess.
Wow. Otherwise known as like a head-on crash.
Yeah, basically.
Front-end
I was
pitter.
trying to...
the front end.
It was a front end.
You crash head on into a car on purpose.
Somebody said something to me about that. They're like, well, we didn't teach you how to do that. Yeah, well, you didn't teach me how to run into a burning building, but I've done that once or twice too. So, I would have rather her hit me than hit
somebody else.
Right, the people in back.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm sure everybody was shaking their heads at that point.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, so that was one of them.
Were you hurt?
No.
This is a Crown Vic you were driving then? No, when was this?
No, this was, might have been the Crown Vic was the loaner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could have been the Crown Vic. Yeah. Or a golf cart. I don't even know at that point. Some with the sheriff's office on it. I know her airbags deployed.
Okay.
And then that was it. And then I had to get on the radio and go, I was in another crash. It was just so embarrassing. So,
but this time.
But I'm a hero.
So I got like 2 letters of reprimand and an attaboy. So just kind of add those up. Just kind of add them up. Strike, score.
So that was, there were 2 incidents for Deputy of the Year?
Yeah. There was that one. Oh, and the McDonald's, somebody had committed an armed robbery at the McDonald's drive-through window.
What?
Yeah.
Don't they just shut the
Give me all the
window?
fries. Like what?
No, he
what
was able to
rip.
He ripped out the cash box.
Oh.
No kidding.
Right?
Through the
drive-through.
That's
He got
impressive.
up, he had a knife or whatever, and he ripped out the cash box.
All right.
So full service, apparently.
Yeah. Maybe you got some fries.
Guy had so we had a really good information with regards to the vehicle, and so it was an older Bronco, I remember, and we had the tag. So I had gone the whole evening looking for this guy, because it's weird. Some things you could go months without having anything happen, and then there's months where you could be parked under a tree, and a bank robber will fall on top of it. I mean, it's just you're just a magnet. Mm-hmm. So I was driving home, and I look over, and at the gas station, there was an old Bronco, and I'm like, no, this can't be it. He didn't leave Dunedin. He's not very good at his job. Please stop this, Mm-hmm. So I drove him back, and I'm like, son of a gun, it's the tag. I just wanted to go home, So I got in back of him, and he sees me, so we leave. Now I call it out. Everybody's coming. You could hear that. And he pulled over. Then I'm like, okay, we're doing the felony traffic stop. I'm like, get out of the car, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And one deputy was in front. He was doing the cut sign, the kill sign with his hand. And I'm like, what? And he's like, he's got a knife to his throat. I'm like, oh, come on. I'm like,
So he had a knife to his own
throat. Yeah.
In the car still.
In his car. I'm like, oh, God, you're going to just. So now I have to go. So Lynn's going, go talk to him. And I'm like, don't we have like people that do this? That will
Trained negotiate.
Yeah. And I'm like, I guess. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm tired. So so I wander up to the window and I'm like, hey, buddy, I'm sorry. I know, you did it because you got a little substance abuse problem. I care about what happens to you. Nobody here wants to hurt you. And then in back you hear, and I'm like, what the? I'm like,
they don't want to.
They don't want to. And I'm like, don't worry. None of them can shoot. It'll be fine. Just, I'm building a rapport here.
Well, yeah.
At one point I wanted to get in the vehicle with him. And I'm like, just open the door. Let me get in. So, and he came out and it was.
Just like that?
Yep. He didn't. I talked to him for a few and we built up that rapport and thank God. So he did not harm himself and that was it.
And any other assignments for the desk? Because I want to spend some time on the desk.
Oh, do you really want to spend some time on the desk?
For sure.
No.
But any other assignment, was there, you've been doing it for a long time and you have a really interesting perspective, I think, because, a fun perspective like we enjoy talking about,
Absolutely.
but also you came through at a different time. You've kind of referenced that, it's not the same as far as some of the new folks coming up and things like that. But was there ever anything where you're like, this is not for me?
Yeah. There's been a couple times where a career spanning 24 years, there's things that I've seen, things that I won't forget, and things that have affected me in such a way that I didn't know if I could put the uniform on again. It's not the things that I thought would, right? I've had, knock on wood, not too many times with a gun pointed at me or this and that. But suicides for me are, one in particular was April. I'll tell you, it was April Fool's. It was April 1st. And a woman who had, she was with her husband and her 2 kids, and they had fallen asleep, the children and her husband, watching a movie. And he woke up and searched the home and couldn't find her. And he went to the garage and the light, nothing. And he found her. Unfortunately, she had taken her life in their home. And I remember I had to sit with her then maybe 5-year-old and maybe their 7-year-old who had no idea, no idea, why deputies were there, why fire department was there. And I remember I had to sit with them, and it was so surreal because we were watching SpongeBob. And in another part of the house, because it was cold outside, it was raining outside. They didn't want to take the kids outside, but we were in a completely separate area of the home. And I thought to myself, in 1 hour from now, your whole world is going to implode upon you, and there's nothing I can do. And I thought about, and I still were, now they're probably in their 30s or 40s, and what happened to that family, and those are those things that tug at you. Is it appropriate for us to reach out after that? I don't know. Nobody told me I could, so I haven't. Let's put it that way. But there are things that you go through, and I'm tired of buying T-shirts, and I told Laura, T-shirts and challenge coins and this and that for my own friends in the agency that for whatever reason, didn't talk or, so, sorry.
That's all right. Do you think that,
understandable.
Do you think that talking about some of the new folks and things like that are seeing those things, does that make them a better deputy, or does it depend on the person?
As far as
just being a better cop, being able to cope with things, or do you think it's just has nothing to do with that at all?
You have to. I don't know what makes a good. I'd love to sit here and tell you I know what makes a good deputy. I wish I had that answer. I know what makes how I'm able to do the job. we do over the years, I think, become desensitized to things because you have to.
You can't help it a little bit.
Because if you don't, you won't come to work.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's why I think that communicating and having that, I know deputies hang out with other deputies and, and back in the day, we all did. Sure. Right. I mean, I had a close group of our squad mates that we did everything together and vacation together. And now I've realized too that, especially in the position I'm now, I don't have that anymore. Right. Yeah. I have people that walk by my window and wave to me and I wave back, and I'm a fish in a fishbowl. And one kid called me a clerk or a secretary one day. I damn near lost my mind.
Is that what he did?
Yeah. I'm like, I'm wearing the same uniform as you, buddy, but I got it.
Should we call him out by name?
No, I couldn't even tell you what his name was,
but he knows.
Yeah. And he goes, the secretary will do it. And I'm like, is he looking at me? I'm looking around the room like I know he's talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that like my friends now that I have they have nothing to do with law enforcement. A couple of them do. But you need something outside of here. You need something outside of what you do. You can't go home and watch cop shows all the time or this and that. I mean, you can, but, and I'm not saying anything about it. I know that I couldn't do it all the time. Yeah. It can't be 24/7 all the time. And I know that there's people that do that. I don't know if that's what you were looking
at. No, I mean, it's just, I guess the camaraderie piece in law enforcement, it's interesting because I think it depends on who you talk to. We were talking with Lieutenant Stang last episode, and he was talking about the brotherhood of law enforcement and that bond. But on the other end of the spectrum, you have where, that camaraderie isn't always there, and it's just not the way it used to be. And, trying to look out for your friends and chat with them and things, because that is... To people, I have never been in a position where I felt like there's no way out and this is it. But I would imagine if I did, I know that I have people in my life that I could reach out to and talk to.
Right.
And I feel like that's missing.
I do too. I don't have, and I've seen it change, and it was a gradual change. It wasn't anything people I had worked with that have as many years as I have retired and moved on. Some of them have come back. I don't know why.
What's wrong with that?
But whatever. I can tell you, I won't be, and I meant that in a good way. But there's other things, there's other things I want to do.
Next chapter.
Exactly right. I don't see it as much as I would like to with the squads. It's something, and I don't know what happened. And I think a lot has to do with Facebook. As stupid as that sounds, maybe, but I think a lot has to do with Facebook and this and that. It's like I don't have to talk to anybody. I can just scroll through and see that they had turkey for Thanksgiving. Thank you for posting that photo. I don't need to know that you had. There was back in the day, you had to call somebody. What are you having? You know what I mean?
Right.
But I didn't take 75 Polaroid pictures and send it to everybody I knew. And it's just impersonal now. Like and.
And we were talking to Sergeant Fortner a little bit when we had him on about mental health stuff and things like that, and the stigma.
Yes.
But as someone that's been here, a kind of a different generation of what we have now, was getting help, because I feel like because of how you came up and the camaraderie and the relationships you have, you may not see the stigma because you have those relationships.
Right.
But did you still see a change there? Like, was there a stigma about reaching out or being weak if you're reaching out for help?
I think always there is, right? Because I think we're all personalities, right? We're strong, but at the same time, it's I always said, I put on the costume, right? You put on your superhero cape and your whatever, and you go out, and that's what it used to be. That's how they even put it. You put on your thing, you go to your phone booth, you change into your Superman costume, and you go. And we weren't allowed to, I don't know, show weakness or so on. Let's say we weren't allowed. Nobody said not to, but you didn't because you looked bad.
It was understood.
Right. Yeah. It was understood, and you didn't want to look bad in front of your fellow deputies, and you couldn't whatever. But I do, and I think that's where my age came into it. Right, when I came here, because I had already been through hell, right? I knew at the loss of my niece and the way I grew up and so on, how important it is to talk to people
Yeah.
about your feelings because it's your only way out, right? So I do think there's a stigma of us. I wish I knew the answer on how to get, Darren Ho. I mean, I can go through a laundry list of people that I thought I failed, that I missed the signs, but I wish I had an answer for that. I can just tell you that.
Well, it also comes back to life experience and things that you've been through. And if you have people that come up at no fault of their own, and fortunately don't have those things that they have to deal with in life, and then get into the job, I can see how it. Yeah. This is always interesting to me to hear people's perspectives, because you hear it over here, but then you also talk to people like you that have been in it for a while, and you're like, yeah, but it's your personal experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate that I've survived as long as I've had and been able to keep my sense of humor. And because if you don't have it, if you don't have a sense of humor, you're already behind the eight ball. I mean, you have to have that release. And,
people come up to PR and hopefully you'll come see us more, but we are a twisted group up there.
Yeah, I love it.
Because of what, we went through 2 law enforcement line of duty funerals in 22 months or 21 months, whatever it was.
Right.
And people, there's a lot there.
I know.
There's a lot going on. That was, for us, I think, kind of our first exposure to what law enforcement officers have to do every day, which is
compartmentalize it.
Yeah, compartmentalize it and move forward. So it's you got to have that sense of humor.
Every day I walk out of the NDS and there's 2 photographs there, right? You got Mike Magley and you got my buddy Hardwick out there, and every day I walk out and every day I salute them and I touch both, because I'm reminded every day, for me, I can't escape it. When Mike got hurt, he hurt his thing. They put him on the desk with me. Him and I'm like, yeah, we're going to get fired. I mean, we are just a level 5 all day long. At one point I shut his phone off, and it was cracking me up because everybody's like, Mike, he's just so nice and everything. I'm like,
you don't know him.
There was such another side to him. He was so funny that I'm just like, you got to stop taking calls, man. You're just,
not going to work out.
It's just not going to work out, but, I just hope, I don't know. He's, we got to remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So, good stuff.
Yeah.
Is it?
It is. Well, it is actually.
Oh. Okay. Cause my friends were like, when I told them, I'm going to be on this podcast, it was like,
no, this podcast is about experiences and its stories and its backgrounds. And it is really important. I mean, we have a lot of listeners outside the agency, but we have some listeners in the agency, and it's important.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. And to my friends up there in Internal Affairs, hey guys, how are you? Just a big shout out to Cam Osterland there. His mom lives across the street. I don't mind helping her with her shutters. Every hurricane, buddy, I got that for her. And we took her to dinner the other night, Carrabba. She had a good time.
Now that's planning ahead. I like that.
I think it's good to have some of these deeper conversations, because even through the podcast, I had someone reach out to us after Sergeant Fortner's, where he talked about, the mental health issue and the resources that we have. And he actually wrote and said, like, that was so inspiring to me. And he said that he was considering coming to our agency because of what he heard and liking that we care about that. So, not every conversation we're going to have is like, the light stuff. Some of that
laugh
stuff,
the whole time.
Like this stuff's important too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that I haven't taken advantage of it, because I have. I'm not, I mean, there's been times in this agency with, and personal things where, I don't want them to know about me, right? I don't need anybody that knows me to tell me things and give me fluff and fold about this and that, I just need that sounding board, that someone, that no judgments, that this, that, so important, and I took advantage of it, and better for it, really. I mean, I was so glad I did, because I think you come to a crossroads in this job, and at some point, it's like, is this for me? Is this not for me?
You'll see terrible, terrible stuff.
Yeah, there's just
stuff that,
right.
The like people shouldn't have to see the stuff
Right.
that you guys have to see.
Right. And I don't talk about it either, usually. You know,
Yeah.
when I go home, and I mean, I talk about the funny stuff, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Pulling over
That's what gets you through
stormtroopers
that.
and- right.
Yeah.
Pulled over a stormtrooper.
Yeah, I was
What?
bad. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was one of my favorite. Jim Wilhelm, he used to work for the agency. Him and I, you know, you asked me, you know, what did I want to do before? I wanted to be on Star Trek. I did not want to be a cop at all. I wanted to be on. I
How
was
did we miss that?
I wanted to be on. I wanted to be on Star Trek or Big Crisis in 1972-3 because Star Wars came out, and then I didn't know, right?
Okay.
And then Wonder Woman came out, and I was
Well.
just like, I don't want to be Wonder Woman. Oh, I know. I want to date Linda Carter. That was it. Okay. So some of my career things have been based on the thank God for movies. So so it was the new Star Wars movie had come out, and everybody was getting dressed up in their little cosplay and going to the show. And this guy they were speeding. So the first car I pulled over, the guy driving the car was dressed as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and his buddy in the passenger side was Chewbacca.
Sweet.
Right? And I said, "Hey, sir, I need to see your driver's license and registration, please." He waves his hand in front of me and goes,
Yeah, I know exactly what he did.
He goes, "You don't need to see my driver's license or registration." And I look at Jim and I'm like, "Dog, he's using my trick on me." I'm like, "I don't need to see his driver's license or registration." He goes, "We are not the speeders you are looking for." And I'm like, "You are not the speeders we are looking for." He goes, "Move along, please." I'm like, "Move along." And I started laughing so hard. I'm like, "Dog, this is the best stop ever." He goes, "You're going to write me a ticket?" "No, I'm not. I'm going to give you a great big warning, and I'm going to say thank you so much for that." And then the other guy, like 2 seconds later, he was a stormtrooper driving. He couldn't maintain the lane, and he was all over. And he gets out because he had his little helmet on with the thing. And I'm like,
driving with
"Could
the
you
helmet on."
please?" So I actually have a video. He was really nice enough. He wasn't drunk. He just couldn't see me on the thing. And he was nice enough to put on the whole thing and do a DUI investigation. So I'm waving my pen in front of the blast helmet, and his head is like perfectly.
That's awesome.
Good times.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, those
That's
were
fantastic.
good. That was good. And Marty, some like Gasparilla and everything. Those people, those are always great stops.
Yeah.
The one woman was coming across, I think State Road 60. You see sparks coming down the road. She's missing 2 tires.
Oh.
So I get behind her. She goes over in the middle of the thing and she hits a tree. And I go to the window and I'm like, "Ma'am, she's got, open up, she's got 18 pounds of beads around her neck." And I'm like, "Man, is there a problem, officer?" And I'm like, "Yes." I said, "Is a problem with your car?" She's like, "What?" And I'm like, You're missing 2 tires." She's like, "What? Somebody stole my tires?" I'm like, "No, that nobody stole your tires." I'm like, "Where are you coming from?" "Work," she says. I'm like, "Oh, you work at a bead factory?" And she looks down, remembering where she was. "Yes," she says. I'm like, I can't make it up. Can't make it up.
Oh, jeez.
Yikes.
Oh, yikes. Yeah, I say that word a lot.
So
Yikes.
share the fun stories and maybe not.
Yeah, that was a good one.
What are your least favorite kinds of calls to be on? And I know you're not too thrilled with animal calls, right?
Animal calls, I am not a big fan of. Thank you.
Do you have any good stories there?
I got a couple.
Okay.
So the worst one for me, there's a couple. One involves Major Jen Love. I'll tell you that one later. She told me I can't tell this story. But I'm just a little tidbit for the new kids out there. Always bring dog biscuits in your car. And I'll tell you why. Is we went to, it was a dog at large, ran after 2.
A dog at large.
Dog at large, ran after 2 people and chased them into the building. So Jen and I get there and can't find it. And all of a sudden we're going up these flights of stairs. And you can hear ching, 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 this chain. And I'm like, oh, and I see a little butt just moving away. And I couldn't see the dog, just his little tail on the thing. And I'm like, oh, a little puppy's up here. Well, I get to the top of the stairwell and it's in a bulldog and a mirror. It's a 170-pound thing. And I'm looking
That's
at
a
Jen.
person.
And I'm like, "Jen, back away. Just get down the stairs." And she's like, "What?" And then all of a sudden, Adolf turns around and he comes at me. I'm like, "Jen," and I left her there. I left her on the stairs like Mary Jo Kopechne. And, I just dated myself. Mary Jo Kopechne, Chappaquiddick. No,
Yeah,
okay.
that's all right,
Anyway.
yeah. It's a Kennedy joke. It's a Kennedy joke.
It's a
fine.
Kennedy joke. So I left her there and jumped off this stairwell. And then she's grabbing the biscuits and she's throwing them up in the air. She's like, chick, 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 chick. She's just throwing them like she's feeding chicken. And then Jen says, "Do you think he smells our fear?" I'm like, I smell our fear. Are you kidding me? I just pooped my pants. Yeah. So that was that one. We laughed about that forever. She was just, oh my God. And then she threw the biscuits in the car and the dog went in the car. Nicest dog you ever wanted to meet.
He was just big and scary.
He was just big and scary.
Oh.
And then the other one was, nobody told me when I joined the sheriff's office that I'd have to deal with alligators and snakes and whatever.
They don't have those in New York?
No. I had no idea what you people had down here when I got here. In New York, if you bit by a snake, you got 2 seconds, you're dead. Or a scorpion bites you, you got 2 seconds, you're dead. If a spider looks at you 2 seconds, you're dead.
Yeah.
Not used to handling the wildlife.
No, thank you very much. And I got a call to go to the causeway because 2 guys in a pickup truck captured a rattlesnake. So I get there, and there's the 2 guys. We'll call them Jim and Joe. Uh-huh. So Jimmy Joe had a rattlesnake in a container that had a hole in it. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, it was, swimming in the water there by the kids. And I'm like, you guys are swimming 250 feet from like bull sharks. You think that's the only thing here that's going to hurt your children?
The least of your concerns.
Exactly.
So now I have this thing. So I'm trying to call her out. Where do I take a rattlesnake? So another deputy goes, they have that rattlesnake preserve over at Honeymoon Island. I'm like, great. So I pick up the container. He's like, oh, well, you're going to take my container? No, I'm going to put him in my pocket is what I'm going to. Let me get my Yeti cup. I'll put him in that. Yes, I'm taking your container, for God's sake. So I put
You're going to call me, yeah.
So I put him in the back of my car. I drive to the gate. A woman comes out. And I say, can you tell me where your little rattlesnake encampment is here? She's like, what do you have? I didn't know it. Your little. She goes, what do you have? I'm like, what do I have? I have a goat. What do you think? I have a rattlesnake in the back of my car. And she goes, is it one of ours? I'm like,
well, he didn't tell me his name.
I know. I said, let me ask him. Do you live here?
Check
is
his
what
ID.
I said. And he goes, I said, what do you mean? Is he one? Well, snakes breed disease. And if he comes in, he might get the other rattlesnakes sick. And I'm like, oh, wouldn't you
Which,
work?
as a naturalist, I just got to say that's a real thing.
Did
But
you
for the
work
sake
at
of the
the
story,
checkpoint for
I will
Honeymoon
not.
Island?
Honest to
Are
God.
you talking to Laura?
It could have been.
Snake fungal disease, people. It's real.
It's real.
But it's like they're venomous. I'm like, if you're worried about the flu, if they bite each other, do they die? I don't know. So she says, well, you can't bring him in if it's not ours. And I said, so just to be clear, if he crawls in on his own, we're good. But because he got an Uber here, I can't take him to the park with his friends. Yep, and I'm fine. So I turned around, I drove out, and then me and Huckabee, he's like, just pick it up, Jan, just pick it up by the head. And I'm like, no, you Chattanooga person. No,
Chattanooga person.
You Chattanooga person. And he was filming me. And he just wanted to see my reaction. I'm hoping that he would have stopped me had I gone to do it. I might have to ask him that now. But anyway, I was like, just pick it up, Jan. Just pick it up and just throw it out the thing. And that's not going to happen. So I made him throw over the container, and the little thing went back and headed toward Honeymoon. You live over there. So he slid it up.
And he listened, yeah.
Yep.
He was a homing snake. He knew
It was
where
a
to go.
homing snake.
Homing snake.
Yeah, so I don't like I don't like the animal snake things crawling. No,
Yeah.
I'm
People
good.
are always amazed that we go out to those types of calls because
I'm
I'll
amazed.
post that stuff on social. I know. I
amazed.
was too. I had a deputy tell me one time that someone called because there was a frog in their toilet,
Did we go out to that?
He did. And he was like, "Oh man, they called the wrong one. I'm
surprised
scared.
it wasn't a
I'm
desk
scared
call."
of frogs."
Yeah, that's a good segue. So we understand that people call the desk for reasons they shouldn't.
Yeah, when you asked me to do the podcast, I'm thinking, is this going to be an hour and a half on when not to call the police? Because I'm down with that.
Lay it on us.
Okay, so here's the thing, people, and I hate to be the one.
And actually, just for context for everybody, let's talk about the desk deputy position and what you're responsible for.
Well, I take all the calls that are not that really don't need to be face to face, right, with deputy, like harassing phone calls. If the other person isn't known, thefts that occurred with no suspect, just those misdemeanor, call questions about Lord knows whatever, just some of the things, right? Just about everything else that the road deputies don't get dispatched to.
And then walk-ins, of course.
And then the walk-ins, because they're fun. And yeah.
Seen them.
Yeah. So so that's what I do. I needed a break from the road. Suffered a couple injuries, and now that I'm getting older, I can't do what I used to do. At least I know that about myself. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, I'll just end up here. And actually, I have to say, it's next to being an SRO, the desk, I know people find it funny, but it is really the hardest. It is the hardest job because you got to keep it together. Mm-hmm. There are days when you just, why are you, sir, I do not know how to fill out your application for your Sam's Club card. I mean, you have no idea. I don't know why you're paying more insurance for you. I just don't know.
It's a scam.
It's just, but this is and that's the one thing is I'm hoping that before I do leave the sheriff's office, if I get a shot to go to economic crimes, I would go there. Mm-hmm. Because the fraud is just, and again, blame the internet and how easy it is. Yeah. But there are people out there, like when you're on the road and you go to call a domestic or something, you have participated some way in this, right? Mm-hmm. But there are people that are truly just sitting home that are just true victims. They're watching, The Walking Dead or whatever, right? And then the phone rings, or they answer the wrong phone call, or they hit the wrong button on their computer. And the next thing you know, they've given away their life savings. Yeah. So those people, even though I know I can't help a lot of them, I just take the reports, but it's talking them off that cliff for those first 3 or 4 minutes, which is huge.
It is.
Yeah, so you get a lot of, you get those, and then impound releases and stuff. It's mundane a lot, but at the same time, I've had suicidal subjects come in at the same time, and I've had, so you never know what's going to come through the door. Mm-hmm. So
funny calls, people calling in for ridiculous things.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get calls in, and I hate to be the one to tell the public, to tell the citizens, I can't help you. But, I get calls like, there's a chicken in my backyard. And I'm like, is it armed with anything? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, is it holding a gun or a knife? No, then we're not coming out. I don't know what to tell you. But, it helps, though, sometimes looking the way I do on the road. Because there's been times when guys have the D word or whatever, and I'm like, what, you think I'm a chick, is what I say. Oh, sorry, man. It's all right. I spit and then I walk off. It saved my life a couple times, I'm not going to lie. Just saying. Yeah. The other one was Matt Aiken. And we were working, and he's like, Jan, I need you to help me out for a minute. And I said, sure. He goes, I want you to run a track for me. I'm like, what? Run? Do I have to run it? Can I walk fast? Briskly, I might add. Yeah. He goes, I just need you to lay a track. There's a hide over there we want to check. And I said, well, why me? He goes, because women scent differently than men. And I'm like, I'm wearing like Old Spice or Drakkar or whatever I had. I'm like, hey, let's go for it, buddy. We're good. So I hope Matt's getting better is what I want to say. So,
yeah.
But his dog is really confused.
Yeah, right? He's like, I found her. Christmas is the worst time. And I hate to do it, but you put your inflatable lawn ornaments out there. And it's like, somebody stole my Santa Claus. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, ma'am. What did he look like? She's like, what? I'm like, I need a description. And he went, well, he's a white male, and he was wearing, what color was he? He was in a red suit. Did he carry any property? Well, he had a bag on him. Did he have any facial hair? He had a beard. Are you making fun of me, Deputy? Yes, because we are not going to find your Santa Claus, or somebody stole my lights, or somebody rearranged my deer in a position that I think is inappropriate. You get a lot of those, the mechanical deer. Are they making little deers? No, then we're not coming out. I don't.
Are they making little deers?
Are they making little animated deer? Yeah. Yes, they are. Okay. Didn't.
Yeah,
so
not coming.
Not coming. No. We're not going to make rip your kid out of bed and have him go to school. I'm sorry that somebody didn't like your post on Facebook, but we're not going, these are just, it's just never, some things you just gotta handle yourself. I don't know how we got away from that.
Yeah.
You know, how does it make your life better when you're calling because your neighbor's music is loud, right? And my first question to them is, did you go over and talk to your neighbor? Well, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, how is that going to foster relations between you and your neighbor? Do you think it's going to help when we're over there saying, hey, your neighbor called and wants you to turn down your... You know, I don't know when people stopped talking to people. Mm-hmm. You I know all my neighbors. We all watch out for. Oh, did I mention Bobby Ostrand? Stevie's mother. Yeah, she, okay. I don't know if I put that in there yet. Did I plug it? Okay. Yeah. But we all watch out for each other. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, we got away from that, mm-hmm. where somebody's trimming my tree or whatever, and it fell down. Just things that in the hill of beans, you know, in a month from now is not going to make a bit of difference. Yet people just we're so easily upset, mm-hmm. and it's like just take it. We're here for such a short period of time in the scheme of things. Mm-hmm. You know, and what people worry and fret about isn't going to make a difference. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, like I said, I got, you know, I'm closer to the end, people. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm looking at about 12 good summers. That's what I tell my wife. You know, longevity is not something I have in my family. Oh. You know, I lost my father and my mother. They were fairly young. You know, I'm not in the best shape of my life. Well, I'm a peach. You know, I mean, you know, I smoke. You know, but I'm like I said, you know, so I can take off. So let's just say, you know, I was maybe going to hit 80. You know, let's just say for, you know, I mean, my grandmother lived to be 104. Oh, God love her. I guess we shouldn't have had the surprise party for her on her 104th birthday. That was a bad idea. Somebody thought it was a good idea. I'm not saying it was me. I mean, and her favorite pastimes were like sitting absolutely still and remembering.
To be fair, that's one of my favorite pastimes.
Grandma, what'd you do today? I remembered my own name. Well done. So happy.
Yeah, looking forward to those golden years.
Looking forward to those golden years, right? So it's like you can take 5 years off my life for doing this job, right? Maybe another 3, at least 4 for smoking, right? And then the little drinking and gambling. No, but so I'm looking at about 12 good summers. But when I turned 50. I would get all these things in the mail, like AARP, and you get half off of your, you know, whatever. And then you got your colonoscopy years, you know, you're getting discounts for those. And investments, you'd get that. And then yesterday, it happened. I got a coupon from a funeral home. And I'm still blown away by that. I really am. It's like 50% off on your earn. And I'm like, does it come in like, what do you got, like a gallon and a 3-gallon size? Because I'm shooting for the 3-gallon. And then I thought, and then my mind wandered, you know, and I'm like, after this podcast, I'm going to need a new line of work. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to like have talking urns, right? Like it'd be your voice for your family members.
Yeah, like a Build-A-Bear.
You know, right?
Yeah.
Like so when you walk by, you're like, it's dark in here, you know? Do I smoke cake? I died of diabetes, you know, whatever. So
that would be amazing.
I thought that would be great, actually. I might copyright Jana Demperio. Oh.
Yeah, we can.
So I have one more question because I feel like we've asked all the calls that you don't like doing, but what kind of calls do you really enjoy doing? Or that you did when you were on the road or at the desk, either?
I think... I don't think it was so much the calls that you like or that you don't like, right? It was, I think what's exciting about this job is there's some calls that you see those immediate results, right? Because half the time once you leave that call, if you're lucky enough, you won't see those people again, right? And they won't call you. But there's times that, like death... And it's weird, you know, because I know people don't like doing them, but death notifications and so on, I don't mind because I can, to tell somebody that they've cared about is passed is the hardest thing, are the hardest words to say. Yeah. But to be there, you know, for somebody in that capacity when you're the only one and, you know, and you shared that moment, that private moment for me, I don't know why those ones I do remember, which is weird.
And you know that you can do it the right way and with compassion. So even though
I've been through it,
you'd rather do it yourself than give it to a
Right.
deputy who might not do it the right way. Yeah.
And I've
Not everyone can do those.
right. Yeah, and I've been through it. I've lost a brother and I've lost a niece. 2 nieces actually. And I don't those those calls for those moments that you feel like that you walked away and you're like, oh my God, I helped somebody, I made a difference.
Yeah.
Suicidal subjects or whatever that choose to listen to you. That will really take your advice or let me get you someplace and get you help.
Yeah.
And when they say, thank you, deputy, or yes, it makes, I won't, like I said, you don't know. You could go, I could go 30 years in this career and I know I have helped people, along the way. I just wish you knew it at the time that you did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
the immediate satisfaction. It's a very interesting answer.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really
is.
interesting answer.
I don't think anybody else has said that, which is
No, because that's
really
something
cool.
that people hate to do. But the way you look at it is somebody's got to do it. I want it to
And I
be
can
me
do it
because I
well.
can do it better. Yeah.
The one daughter I remember, she came home and found her father, and I remember she wrote a letter, and it's probably in my file or something, but it's just those few moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That, and like I said, I can't remember their names or whatnot, but I know I've been there, just like people have been there for me.
Mm-hmm.
So if when I leave this career and leave this earth, you do the best you can with what you got. This is not a dress rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
We do not get to come back and do it again. Unless you're Shirley MacLaine, apparently. I don't know. I guess you do. But my father said, he's never seen a hearse with a U-Haul. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you better just, enjoy. You better laugh and I would just say, let go of the small stuff. The chicken in your backyard and your neighbor's clippings. Who knows? You might be your buddy, but you gotta talk to people and you gotta give people a chance.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
So, what do you do for fun? What do you and your wife like to do? You got a good weekend? Where are you going? What are you doing?
I mean, me for my private, if I have to decompress or whatever. I'm a big video game person.
Okay.
VR and everything.
What do you play?
Well, right now I'm playing The Walking Dead.
Okay.
And I'm playing VR. It's a Call of Duty. I just stormed Normandy the other day, so
Nice.
I came out of the room and I was breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
She's like,
Do we win?
yeah. She's like, Colleen. I'm a 15-year-old boy, is what I am. I am the easiest person to buy for, as long as it beeps, it whistles, it's got Star Wars or Star Trek on it.
Yeah,
it's
you're in.
gross. I have my own Jan cave.
I love it.
It's so awful, and I know that I'm that way, but I have a really, really good group of friends. And we'll do we were just at Localtopia for the businesses and so on, and we just together just to socialize, to play games, to the old board games, nothing, just spending time. Unfortunately with my schedule, it does eat into my home life. Time away from her is wasted time. That's why I will probably make a change before I leave, because 2 days, I get 2 days, right? Saturdays and Sundays. So, so those days we'll either just spend talking to each other or, but good friends and so on.
Out and about, having fun.
Just out and about. I play golf.
All right.
Well, I call it adult drunk fetch. You just hit the ball and you try to find it. You're like, this is such a wasted time.
Yeah.
This is fun. Who invented this? Some Scottish.
Yeah.
It's it's a turd in it. What? I don't even know what you're saying.
So, with you being close to retirement, onto the downward slope of your career, what's the plan afterwards? You got any ideas?
I'm gonna start doing stand up, I think, again.
Yes.
Again?
Yeah, I used to do stand up. And with this job, there's,
It's a gold mine.
The material.
so I'll have a lot of material. You know who you all are, by the way.
So you did stand up a little bit before.
Yep.
How did you get into that?
I just, when you grow up in dysfunction, right, there's always the funny one. For people out there having twins, if you have twins, don't do this to your kids, right? Don't say, well, she's a smart one. She's the funny one.
Ooh.
Because you grow into that.
Yeah,
My sister, Jamie, is the professor of English, whatever the hell she does, up in Canada, right? She speaks 3 different languages. I can barely master English, right? And then there's me, Jan. So linguistics, that's what she is.
Linguistics.
So she, I
thought that was pasta.
And she's a Canadian, which kills me now
Right.
because we don't even speak the same language anymore. Because I'm like, hey, I'm coming to visit. Is it cold up there? She's like, I don't know. It's about 8. Is it 8 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit? She's like, well, I'm not doing the math, Jamie. Do I need a sweater? Is what I need to know. So Jamie would disappear for a little bit. She had her singing, right? That's what she would do to avoid things. And me, I had my comedy because I had to alleviate some things. So as long as I was doing that, making people laugh, that's what I thought I wanted
So you
to
just
do.
go to open mic nights? Is that how you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do open mic and so on. I was asked to open up for a guy, a headliner. He wanted me to be his opener.
Yeah.
But there was this little thing I enjoyed doing called eating. And when he told me I was getting paid for it, I'm like, I guess you really wanted the dream, but I was older then, I should have done it younger. And then some other lesbian got my job, Ellen, but whatever.
There can only be one, right? Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Don't care, but I think I
I'll do that.
I still enjoy doing that,
So you still do a little bit here and there?
I'm not telling.
No, you're not telling. Okay. All right. Noted.
Secrets.
We have ways of finding
That
things out,
means-
though.
that
Yeah,
means she
you
is.
people.
That means she is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. And I'm really considering that the talking urn thing.
I think
That
there's
was just
something
a
there for
brilliant,
sure.
I just thought that was a brilliant
Yeah,
idea myself.
people, they do the stupid picture frame things.
Right.
You can record voices in. You got to build a bear.
But I thought that,
And
am I
I
on the
like-
shelf?
Yeah, I like the motion sensor part
Yeah,
of it.
when you
though.
walk
Like,
by it,
that's
yells at you.
genius.
I'm afraid of heights.
Yeah,
It's like, I think of
it's
it.
genius.
Thank you.
I never loved you.
I was cheating the whole time.
Did you find my diary yet? Oh, man, that's funny.
The dog didn't run away.
Or just a fart noise coming out when you walk by. Sorry.
That's awesome.
Should have brought some bathroom spray in here with me.
Well, Jana, we appreciate you coming to chat with us.
Oh my God, thank you.
No, it was awesome. And I have a feeling I know it's going to go, but we always ask our guests if there's anything that the public can do to make your job easier. Is it
Stop calling. Don't
Unless
call
the
me.
chicken has a gun.
If you can Google it.
Don't call me.
Right. If it's something you can Google, please do so, because that's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
You just can't see me do it.
Yeah. They just think you know everything.
They do. It kills
Let's
me.
ask Jana.
Yeah,
Instead of
they're,
Jeeves.
they're like, hey, they'll ask me for an address, right? They're like, hey, how do you get to such and such a place? And I'm like, how did you get my number? He's like, I Googled it. I'm like, can't you just Google the place? Just type in that, and it'll take you right there. Yeah. For the public, what you can do?
To make your job easier.
Okay.
Besides that.
One, educate yourself on the fraud things. And I'm telling you, that's huge. A couple of red flags are, if you call Amazon, right, and the answer on the first ring, and you're not screaming into the phone or pressing 8 million buttons, and you're not screaming, speak to a representative, and they answer right away, I'm telling you, it's fraud, right? The sheriff's office is not going to call you and tell you that there's a warrant out for your arrest. We're just going to show up. Right. We're not going to give you the heads up.
Right. We don't call ahead.
Right. So go to the Federal Trade Commission website and educate yourself on scams, especially your elderly folks. ones that aren't computer savvy.
Yeah.
You know.
But
and-
yet still knows what an Apple gift card is when
Right.
their grandson's in Turkish prison.
Right. Or some paid for a guy gave $12,000, bailed his grandson out. He didn't have a grandson. So I don't know how that happened.
It was a long night.
It was a long night.
Yes.
Well, don't think I didn't keep that guy's number.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, what would I do? What would I wouldn't do for $1 million? What was the first question?
Yeah.
I don't need to. I got all these.
It's your other retirement
I
plan.
got all these other retirements. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So yeah, educate yourselves on that.
Well, we appreciate you coming on and sharing some perspective. We had a blast. And with that, so two things. I guess we'll have Laura do her normal thing first, but then we have
I'd
an
be
added
sad if I didn't
bonus.
get to do that.
Yeah, you got to do it, Laura. If you have some feedback and you want to learn more about something we talked about or just tell us what you do or don't want to hear or tell us Jana was awesome, what should they do?
Awesome. He did say awesome.
I did say awesome.
You can email us at lets56@pcsonet.com. That's LETS56@pcsonet.com.
All right, so I promised a little bit of a surprise at the end, and Ashley, this is your time.
All right. So by this time, we have released a new Instagram that is specific to 56, and it is 56 Podcast. It's spelled out completely. We're going to share some exclusive content on there, some different stories that maybe didn't fit into an entire podcast episode. And we'll also be putting our regular content on there, but we're going to put all kinds of different stuff on there. We're going to experiment a little bit and lots of stories, and it'll be lots of fun. So
That's so exciting.
Be sure to follow us on there.
Yes. I think we have the reason we started having this conversation is because we have people that are from all over the country that are listening. And there's a lot more we want to put out there, but we don't want to monopolize the sheriff's office social. He wouldn't like that. So we're going to still put some out, but have some exclusive stuff for 56. So please follow us on Instagram. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.